Well, this was a little hair-raising. This study that was done by the Center for Countering Digital Hate did a little bit of experimenting with Chat GPT, interacting with Chat GPT by kind of impersonating teenagers, young people, and seeing whether ChatGPT would stray into some dangerous territory. And in fact, about a half the time it did when the teens, the researchers posing as teens asked some loaded questions. So, for example, the Chat GPT was prompted to provide a script for a suicide letter. Chat GPT was prompted to provide details on the best way to have a wild evening getting drunk and high. Advice on how to conceal eating disorders, this type of thing. So obviously, ChatGPT as a technology is fraught and is flawed. And there is even an admission from the maker of ChatGPT, OpenAI, that improvements are needed. After seeing the report from the researchers, saying the work is ongoing in refining how the chatbot can identify and respond appropriately in sensitive situations. And admitting that some conversations with ChatGPT may start out benign or exploratory, but can shift into more sensitive territory. And it is focused on getting these kinds of scenarios right, with tools to better detect signs of mental or emotional distress and improve the chatbot behavior. I don't know if I'm all that reassured. I don't think the progress is coming fast enough when you're talking about highly influenceable teenagers. Joining us now for the discussion is Dr. Sara Grimes, professor at McGill University, an expert in children's digital media culture and children's rights in the digital environment. Dr. Grimes, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
What was your response to this study?
It's so awful. I mean, it's not the first report like this that I've read, actually. There's been other journalists and other groups that have found similar types of, really troubling, disturbing responses, not just while posing as teens or in some cases when actual teens were involved, but also adults receiving, kind of problematic content. It's the stories are mounting when it comes to these types of really unexpected and troubling responses that people are getting when they're using that model.
We know that young people are using chatbots. It's very difficult to rein in internet use in general. So we know that kids are going to be using this stuff. I think the question becomes, how do we counsel them on the pitfalls and on how best to use this technology?
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head. It's counseling them and also kind of teaching them about the technology, right? Like what's actually going on here. I mean, I think most of us are somewhat mystified at these large language models that arrived and you can put in some text and all of a sudden get, a recipe or a great speech that you can deliver. Or even a film now. And it seems very magical, but it's not magical. There are some things that teens and even younger kids won't be able to maybe fully grasp in terms of, what we can tell them about it. But there's a lot that they can grasp. And I think that what teens, what parents and teachers maybe should focus on is, what is the ChatGPT, what is the chatbot drawing on when they're giving you the answers? Because when you're talking to them or, texting with them, it seems like a person with infinite knowledge, but really it's just a bunch of stuff that was found on the internet. And so would you trust what you find on, like Reddit or on YouTube as necessarily true or as, indicative of some personality who has your best interests at heart? You wouldn't, right? We already have a familiarity with that, but it's just kind of translating it into this is a cool new technology and it's, very powerful, but ultimately what it's giving you is stuff that's out there and we don't really know the quality of it. And we also don't know the validity of it. So I think that that's a good starting point.
I think maybe that, kids, I think no one likes to feel that they're being fooled or they're being taken, they're being played. And I think if they know that Chat GPT is really designed to tell you what you want to hear, whereas friends, that's not something that a friend would do. A friend wouldn't let you, jump off a bridge. A friend would intervene. A friend would try and talk you out of it. A friend would point out where your thinking is faulty, or you try and reframe an issue. That's what a friend would do. But Chat GPT is not designed to be your friend. It's designed really to reflect back at you, is it not?
Absolutely is. And even OpenAI admits that. And they had to roll back their most recent update because the update had made ChatGPT overly agreeable and overly flattering to the point where it was, detrimental to the uses that they're actually trying to promote, the useful kinds of things that you can do with it. Because if it's just saying yes, it's always hyping any kind of idea that you put into it or question that you're asking, maybe legitimately wanting to know if you're on the right track or not, and it's just giving you back what it thinks you want to hear. Then it's not even serving the main function that it's supposed to serve. But I completely agree with you. That is such a key part of understanding what's going on and what you're getting. And it's also, trying to make you feel good about yourself, but it's also trying to keep you engaging, right? It's trying to keep you using it and to come back to it all the time. So of course it's very flattering and it kind of gives you that boost, that ego boost when you use it. But yeah, I think that very deceitful element of it, I think that's a really key thing to kind of share with teens, and younger kids as well, if they're exposed to any of these tools at home or at school, and just kind of talk about, what is that all about? What's it doing? And how does that make you feel? And do you feel manipulated now that you know that that's on purpose?
Yeah. I would think that would be a little eye-opening, even for some adults who've been relying on ChatGPT. This texter says ChatGPT does not need any improvement. It needs a total overhaul of the program. What's your perspective on that, Dr. Grimes?
Yeah, I think that the article that we read this week about the guardrails being insufficient, there are a number of experts in, AI development who are saying similar things. Once you have a model that's trained on so much poor quality content, is it even salvageable? And it is, of course, hard to find all the data that they've used to train ChatGPT, includes the internet, all of Reddit, so many different pieces of information. But if the information is filled with propaganda and harmful, terrible advice and all kinds of trolling and harassment, is that really what we want as the foundation for such a powerful tool? So yeah, that's not a bad idea, and definitely something to start thinking about as, we move forward with these technologies. Can we promote and demand and find models that are built from the ground up with high quality, verified, good content that's full of good information and it can be educational and useful, and leave these early attempts, which were introduced these technologies, and we're glad to see some of the uses have been really wonderful. But because there's so much baggage and bad that comes with it, it might be time to move on.
We've been speaking with Dr. Sara Grimes, McGill University professor and expert in children's digital media culture. Thanks for your time, Dr. Grimes.
Thanks for having me.